Hi folks, Dave Schmidt here with the Sedona Connection, and it's the morning of January 29th. I want to give you a preview of tonight's radio program, but before I do that, I want to take care of a couple of housekeeping measures. Some of you come through me through my YouTube videos and my YouTube channel, others through my website, and others through the newsletters and the emails. But let me say this, some of you are saying you're not getting my newsletter. I don't know why, but it appears to be around mostly those of you who use Gmail for your email source. I've tried to find out. I can't figure it out. But here's what you can do. Go ahead and friend me on Facebook. Just put in Dave Schmidt, Sedona, Arizona, and in there you'll see mine and you'll be able to just friend me there because I post all of these newsletters on Facebook as well. I have my regular personal Facebook. There's plenty of room for lots of friends. And then I have the like, which is the Dave Schmidt, the Sedona Connection. You can do either one. I post them all there. And also what I'll start doing is for those of you that are on YouTube, if you would like to be on the newsletter list as well, first of all, to let you know, I don't share that information with anybody. It stays private. It stays with me. It's only used for this purpose. There's no advertising. There's no giving out the list, your names, or anything else. But you can contact me at thesedonaconnection@msn.com. You can also go to my website, thesedonaconnection.com, and there you can sign up on the newsletter list. And if it doesn't fit for you, you can always, at any time, choose to unsubscribe. But these videos I do, the newsletters I put these out usually once or twice a week is what I do. The last couple of weeks I've been limiting myself, I should say, to about one a week because the news is somewhat limited right now and we're in kind of a quiet phase, and I think that's a good thing. Well, for tonight's program, I'm going to talk about two things. First of all, there's a lot of stuff that is now beginning to come out in the mainstream media news about a global currency reset or collapse. It's not being spoken to necessarily directly. Sometimes you need to be able to read between the lines and understand what they're clearly saying. But when you have someone like us or myself, and we have a lot of experience in this, we can understand what they're alluding to. This is coming out in Fox Business News, Fox News, Bloomberg News, CNBC, other posts that I receive on Facebook from some of the folks that you send me, and one really specific that really stood out this week. There was a comment on the Drudge Report. And if you're not familiar with the Drudge Report, it is probably the most single-read blog site in the world. It receives almost 1 billion hits per month. That's huge. And for Matt Drudge to be coming out and making a statement, he's saying, have an exit plan. And we know what he was referring to. He's referring to a potential collapse in the stock market. There's a lot of stuff that's developing. It's beginning to build and we're seeing it. Now, what does that mean for us? Here's the second part I'm going to talk about on tonight's radio program. I will allude to that more, go into more detail, but I'm also going to turn this into a teaching series of something that I love to do. There's something that's really interesting happening here. See, I'm one of those firm believers that history repeats itself. If you understand how history works, what creates events, and all the science of quantum physics behind that, we always see that there is a pattern. This comes back to one simple understanding that we really haven't grasped yet very well as a society. Albert Einstein, when he came up with this theory of relativity, he absolutely proved by a scientific fact is time is an illusion. Time does not exist. Time is not real. Yet we still think in our everyday world of linear time thoughts. We think in terms of linear, a past, a present, and a future. But that's just an illusion. In reality, what it is, you have to picture it like being, instead of linear, you have to picture it in being vertical, and everything is a hologram. And this is new scientific fact that's coming out as well, that the whole universe is a hologram. And what that means is all past, present, and future is happening simultaneously at the same time. But we collectively who are here together on this planet Earth are focusing at a specific spot within the hologram that we call the year 2014. But what's happening is the year 2114 and the year 1914, they're all happening simultaneously. It's hard to get your mind wrapped around that sometimes. I understand that. But when you allow yourself to think that way, you begin to see the world differently, and you begin to realize how much of how we think and what we believe really only comes to us in the form of an illusion, and it's not real. So what does that mean? That's why time and historic events have a tendency to repeat themselves. Well, what is the historical event that I'm focusing on? For those of you who know your Bible history, it's the event when Moses leads the Hebrew people, the Israelites, out of 400 years of slavery from the Egyptians. There's an outstanding parallel that happens there that's taking place with us right now. The Israelites had moved into Egypt, and for over a period of 400 years they had become slaves to the Egyptians. Slaves to build their bricks, to build their cities, to build their monuments and their museums, or whatever you want to call them. They were basically slaves to the Egyptians, and the Egyptians loved the slave benefit because they benefited from it greatly. And it became very oppressive. And then you see there was the leadership through Moses that came to them. But here's the interesting parallels. When you read through the biblical account, you begin to see Moses had to go to Pharaoh repeatedly to ask to let his people be set free. And there was promise and delay. Promise and delay. Promise and delay. And does this sound familiar with us? Yeah, it does. Until it finally built to the point to where Pharaoh himself said, I want you out of my sight. Get out of here. Leave. Go away. I don't want you around here anymore. And here's the interesting thing that gets so overlooked in the biblical account. It says that the Egyptian people, the people, had found favor with the Israelites and bestowed upon them their gold, their silver, and their clothing. What that means is one day the Israelites were in poverty and slaves, and a few days later they were on the other side of the Red Sea in freedom and in wealth. The Egyptians bestowed upon them their gold and their silver. In the Bible account it says, it told that the Israelites were told to go and ask the Egyptians for their riches. And you know what? They gave it to them. They just gave it to them. This is so similar to the reval of the currency taking place. You've heard me say many times, we have lived in a financial slavery for millenniums. And we've been this way a long time, and we are about ready to move from slavery and poverty to abundance and riches overnight. But here's the real interesting thing. When they all got to the other side of the Red Sea, and in the biblical account, when the Egyptian army basically had been drowned in the Red Sea, they moved into a position of utter joy and celebration, and they just partied. They were free. They were free and they were wealthy. But here's the key that I'm going to talk about. They had not yet entered into true abundance. Because see, the goal was not freedom and wealth. For them, the goal was entering into the promised land. But here's the issue. It took them 40 years to make a 2-week journey. Why? Because they still had a slavery mentality. They still had a mentality, an attitude, and a belief system that they were not worthy to have all this abundance poured upon them. It took collectively, it took them 40 years to undo all of that old thought process, all of the old belief systems. Because see, abundance is not about having money. Abundance is about full, complete abundance in all areas of your life. We are about ready to become wealthy. We're about ready to become overnight millionaires. We're about ready to repeat this historical event of moving from slavery and bondage and lack to wealth and freedom overnight. Yeah, when you get your $1 million, you'll have the freedom to do what you want, go where you want, be who you want to be with things, with material possessions. But has the belief systems inside changed? That's the key. And I'm going to talk about and put out a teaching series of what is called the transition to abundance. How we move from lack to wealth and then into full abundance. And I call wealth having to do with material possessions, where abundance has to do with full possessions. It has to do more with the spiritual side of it. It has to do more with how we think. It has to do more with our belief systems. It has to do more with the law of attraction issues, how we attract these things into our lives. Because see, folks, our true goal for all of us is abundance. That's what we really all want. The Israelites wanted to enter into the promised land. That's where they wanted to go. But they kept running into obstacles and roadblocks along the way. But here's what's interesting. They created those obstacles and roadblocks themselves. So I'm going to touch on that tonight. I'd love to have your phone calls. We'll get into some discussions about it, and I'll be elaborating more on this coming up. Because, see, folks, that's what I see is coming next. The reset, the reval, it's real close. It's already happening in some areas. There's a reason for that. There's information that's being released. It's being done on a step-by-step basis. The sting operations are still continuing going on. That's extremely important because they have to be removed so that they don't impair our ability to move from wealth into abundance. Okay, that's it. It's kind of a highlight. See you tonight on the radio program. Always give me your emails. I always appreciate that. Send any questions you want my way. And one other thing as a reminder, folks, again, I'm always dependent upon your contributions. I know as it's gotten quiet out there, yeah, the contributions coming in have kind of gotten quiet as well. And I got some rent to pay coming up next month. So you can go to my website and click on the donate tab, or you can also, on the newsletter there, click on the donate tab and you can make a contribution through PayPal using a debit or credit card. Thanks, folks. See you tonight. Okay.